We're in this life because we've joined the circus, but we're extremely professional, and when you see us out on tour and out on site, we're like a small army on the move.
Tait Towers started here in America in about 1979. It was a lighting company at first, and it kind of morphed into a staging company, but it grew exponentially.
Tait Towers has always represented the best in the business.
What we're building either enables the show to happen or not. We thrive on complications.
25 years ago, musicians were making money selling records, and now they're making money selling seats. And that's why we're making stage sets.
Like any organization, we have our moments, we have our drama.
It's full on because there's a deadline that we're up against all the time. There's no showing up a day late.
In this business, you're only as good as your last show. So Metallica, over the years, has had one iconic gag in every show. And on this particular movie, they've decided to take every iconic gag and shove it all into one show.
So what we're working on right now is loading out Metallica. We've already shipped some gear. We've shipped 7 trucks worth of gear, I believe. This is a plan of Metallica. This is a little bit old, though. This has been on the board now for about, I don't know, 2 months. Some of the stuff has changed, mostly per the show designer, not per our request. What we've shipped up to this point is this portion of the stage, and then this portion of the stage, minus the bridge sections that are here. Those are still in fabrication. We've also shipped 2 of these lighting towers, and today we're shipping 2 more of these lighting towers, which are outside in the parking lot getting teched right now.
So, did anybody explain what this gag is? It's pretty amazing because in the Metallica show, there's a destruction scene. And in the destruction scene, there's meant to be these giant kind of power towers or lighting towers or some, and they are hydraulically driven to fall down at a rapid pace. And it's pretty heavy. It's heavy duty. And the audience, it's almost right in where the audience is standing. It scares the shit out of them. If you look at the old footage of the destruction scene, they've done this once before. We didn't build the towers the last time because they were too hard to build.
So the teching process of the towers was rather stressful. It was all carried out outside of our shop here in the parking lot, which made it, one, very difficult because you never knew when you were going to get rained on. We didn't have a space big enough or tall enough to actually run them indoors. Obviously, with any hydraulic system that we do, there's going to be huge leaks everywhere the first time you go to run it until you figure out what hoses aren't tight.
Hi, guys. What is this, like sunbaking day or something? I hear that every time we turn around, there's oil all over the ground. What's going on?
Trying to help waterproof your parking lot, man.
Is that what it is?
Especially, yeah.
Or is that painted? Is that it? That is the look. Fantastic. It looks like rust.
It look like it's not.
Probably is very expensive rust, right?
Logistically, it was a pretty big nightmare in terms of trying to just get everything built and get everything here and get all the right valves and hoses and all of that stuff together. I mean, there was just a lot that had to go into actually making a tower run.
It's a lot of stuff in a real tight package. That's the whole issue.
For instance, this is 38.
So we need another rod.
That's what happened, the other rod.
So we should have more of those.
Yeah, he's going in to check to see if the rod.
So let's go ahead and yank that rod off while we're getting the new rod.
Yep.
The tech process, once we got it running, we started running them and we started writing cues, and it became apparent that, you know, we were definitely, not, I wouldn't say a little bit out of our league, but that we were definitely dealing with something that was pretty dangerous, and you had the potential to seriously either destroy the system or, you know, somebody close to it if you ran it improperly.
It is scary, man.
We actually have a video of Dan walking. with his big wrench when the thing is whipping around, and you can see Dan visibly go and flinch out of the way. That's some good stuff.
There was a lot of stress on that level. You didn't want to destroy the machine, but you also wanted to sort of explore, you know, its capabilities and make sure that it was going to be able to do the things it was designed to do.
It says 10 PSI.
Oh yeah, lots of stress here. We deal with stress every day.
Nobody's born to handle the stress.
We're always stressed out. I'm stressed out right now. I'm stressed out with talking to you. I'm stressed out with shows that we have to do.
I don't know, I'm used to it now.
But yet you do have to be stressed out because that gets things done, gets you motivated.
I guess I need it now. It's like a, you know, first you hate it and then you suddenly you like it.
One of the great joys of this job, and it happens all the time, is when we commit to doing a project that we have no idea how we're going to do it, and you start trying to figure it out, and you hit your head against the wall over and over again saying, fuck, this is impossible, we've really done it, now we're screwed. And eventually you get to the point where there's a solution, and eventually you get to the point where it's really simple details. It turns into a 3/8 bolt or a 5/8 hydraulic hose, and that's always really enjoyable. It's really gratifying to have taken something that you thought was impossible and be solving it and getting into the real simple minutia of it. And then, of course, when you see it actually happen and you hear all those applause, there's something great about that.
As a woman coming into this environment, first of all, you have to have a very thick skin. Yes. You cannot be someone who gets offended easily. Guys are burping, they're farting, they're cussing, and if you're a woman that is going to take offense to any of that, then I don't think this is the right environment for you.
I think I warned you about that when we
I know. That was all
yes.
been warned about
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Swearing is pretty popular here.
Yeah.
And if you can't deal with that, and some people can't.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's one of the things that we warn people about when they are interviewed.
You warn them about burping and farting and...
No, just the swearing part. Because it, you know, some people are offended by it, but it's rampant around here in a very non-threatening kind of way.
It's all in good fun.
The Justice statue is something that previously in a show, they built the statue during the show, and then at the end of the show, they knocked it down. And so that's what we're doing again.
What's not showing here is a 20-foot tall foam statue of Lady Justice. At one point, the designer, who's a very prominent designer in the industry, decided that by flipping these up, we were upstaging Lady Justice. And so he decided that rather than doing that, we actually wanted to do what's called in the industry kind of a sunroof, which is roll away. So now instead of flipping, these pieces lift up and they're hydraulically actuated, and then they roll back so that we can still get what we're calling the drop zone. At some point during the show, when the show all collapses, because that's the motif of the show, the statue will collapse and fall into the drop zone.
This is the base unit for the Justice statue. So over here, what these guys are doing, they're actually wiring up the portion of the turntable that makes this thing, the statue, rotate on these wheels, and also this whole system gimbals. In the X direction and the Y direction to allow us to rotate and kind of tip the statue over.
If you look at the statue, that's a tough one. You're mixing art with technology. You've got sophisticated automation mixed with hand-carving craftsmanship.
The statue's made of bead foam that has a hard coat polyurea on the outside of it. It's like a rhino liner, and it basically is indestructible. Like if you coat a concrete wall with it and set a bomb off next to the wall, it won't blow a hole in the wall. It's very forgiving and elastic, but it's very strong. And it's not the hard coat, actually, that gets destroyed. It's the foam behind the hard coat.
We're just about ready, I hope, to really get rolling. We've got all our pieces in place and all the people standing by, and as soon as Pat's comfortable with everybody and where they are, we're going to be able to get going here.
Prop lift drops into the hole so we can bring the statue pieces up onto the deck.
When it comes down, that should allow us to slide the pieces into the prop lift. We're going to use the crane to lift down in. Then we
pick the pieces up, travel them across. There'll be guys on the scissor lifts basically catching and placing them. We will do that through the levels.
It's a little more believable if you have a piece of big machinery kind of clamping down on a piece, you know, lifting it and moving it over and then dropping it down onto the piece, and having the people sort of, you know, finely position, finely tune the piece as it's dropping, more so than just lifting the piece straight off and onto the statue. So, you know, that's where the kind of the idea of the claw came from. It was really one out of necessity for really selling the gag to the audience that, hey, these are really big, heavy pieces of stone.
Pat, we're ready.
Here we go.
Scott? We have to fix rotate wheels.
Uh-oh, that's not good.
Is this pulling out? Well, that ruins my whole day. The coupler that holds the motor to the drive wheel is pulling out.
It's being taken out now. It's being ground and then rewelded properly. I think it's probably going to be a half-an-hour fix, and then we'll be back up and running.
It's not going to be really late for you guys, do you ever know?
Well, it's getting later.
Right.
This piece here connects the motor to the drive wheel, and it's backing out, so it's a set of fingers that go together. So it comes out, they turn separate instead of together.
So the bracket that holds the motor that engages the drive wheel was weakened by an improper weld.
That rotate wheel wouldn't work. It'd probably fall off, get jammed, and stop. Probably. Other things, it can get a lot worse.
Need lunch or anything?
2-hour fix. Yeah, I'm going now because Avery just gave me the 2-hour.
Vending machine?
He gave me
that's going to be a 2-hour fix. Look on the bright side. You get a 2-hour break.
There you go.
Did you get to see the toilet thing yet?
A toilet. Can't really tell them no, can you?
The toilet's a fun little thing.
Oh, the sword coming out of the toilet, lovely.
For me, it was just kind of an interesting little exercise in, okay, well, how do we actually, you know, make this work? And we came up with a really simple mechanism that, you know, drove the sword up. Obviously, the sword is massive, so we had to come up with a way to hinge it and break it up as it was inside. You know, it rises right out, and it's awesome.
It's big, right? How big?
About 8 feet tall.
8 feet, right. Sword coming out of a toilet. Can't be better than that, right?
I'm working on these press releases, and of course they're very technical, but then I'm also, you know, quoting metal up the ass, you know, so it's just an interesting kind of dichotomy when you're sitting there from more of a traditional marketing standpoint to incorporate, you know, rock and roll elements.
Where are we at, guys? It's all fixed up. We had a bent bracket, so they took it out, welded it up, put it back in, so now we're good to go.
It's nice to see it all built and standing tall. It feels like we've been, you know, going through a lot of little issues here to try and get to the point in which we're at right now. And so, you know, seeing it up in one piece is really, it's a good moment, I think, for us in our position, you know, having to load out in 2 days.
So it's 7:30 at night on Saturday. The guys here have been working, you know, weeks straight on this statue. I think the goal today was to come in the morning and try to drop it. A number of reasons why we haven't done that yet. Pat is trying to anticipate on site when the statue falls, there's things we know we don't want to hit.
You have the statue in between Lars and his drum kit, which is pretty important, and Zach and all the backline guys with all the guitars and all of the equipment, which is pretty important. So yeah, we can't damage either one of those things. Got a couple audience members on the left and right. We can hit those guys, but you can't mess with the band.
So we want to try to aim the statue to fall in a certain area.
Basically, she follows her boobs, so we want our boobs facing into the sheet.
It's like
So we're just looking for a 45 degrees left, 45 degrees right.
So what Pat has just done is he's just asked Brian, the programmer, to see if he can do some moves in Navigator, which is the automation software, to pre-calculate where the statue is going to fall by changing some moves, changing some cues, changing some of the accelerations, decelerations, whatever it may be. So for Brian, I mean, a guy that's been working 2 weeks straight, little sleep, it's a really stressful thing to try to just whip out. And on top of that, everybody's standing around basically waiting for the statue to fall.
I might as well just go, all right?
Sir?
I'm fed up with
Sir.
this, all right?
Sir, I'm just asking you questions.
And I'm trying to do,
you're not giving me any answers.
Complicated math while people keep coming up to me talking to me. That's the same reason I flipped out at Boris the other day,
Okay.
right?
Please do not walk away from me. I know you're doing complicated math, but we're all working together, so we all gotta talk. This project is gonna move forward in the next 8 hours. I'm trying to find out when I can give you time, when I can give you the labor to knock down a statue and put it back up. All right, so if I've overreached and over-asked something that we're not prepared to do, I'm fine with that. But I need to change gears, you need to change gears and say, we're not set up to program, let's do something else. So I'm just looking for a little feedback of, I need 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours with nobody bugging me. I need people standing by to rebuild the statue because it might happen at any moment. I need to go home and go to bed and come back tomorrow. Any of those would be acceptable.
So he's a little bit stressed out at the moment. He took his laptop, he went next door, he's going to do some programming off to the side. In another 30 minutes, he's going to come back. We're going to try to drop it and see what we learn from it. Because ultimately, every time we drop it, we're learning more and more. On the downside is that every time we drop it, it takes some substantial time to rebuild it and then drop it again, rebuild it, drop it again. So depending on what happens tonight, we'll drop it at 8 o'clock. We may just cut everybody, come back in at 8 a.m. in the morning fresh and do drop, rebuild, drop, rebuild. So we're going to see what happens at 8 o'clock tonight.
Here we go. Everybody stand clear. Justice fall.
It's fun to take care of other people's. Here you go. Well, that was anticlimactic. The fans aren't going to like that. What is going on? It's the worst cue ever. Is that a bad cue? Oh my God. That's the first time we ever ran that. Well, come on, man.
He just wrote it in 5 minutes. So.
Yeah. That was like an hour. What are you doing over there? Sorry, it's a joke. It's a joke, Scott. Totally. I support you. What do you need? What can I do to help?
I don't need anything besides the usual.
Okay. So I'll stay here and
just stay there and make fun of it. It'll be great.
I mean, getting a good night's sleep for everybody is probably key at the moment.
Guys will come in the morning, make those adjustments. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon to set it up and blow it apart again. We'll do that for Sunday, Monday. The statue's scheduled to leave on Tuesday, so. Our biggest concern at this point is confirming that we can do everything we want to do with the statue.
We really need to get the destruction sequence sorted out. That, I think, is still the big question in the air. The statue continues to elude us as far as how to make it repeatable over and over again.
Come on! We're not really in control of where that thing goes.
What all of the cueing of the destruction sequence is.
The head toppled off the back and ended up in the drum kit.
Ultimately, the goal for today, I guess, would be cueing the destruction sequence and getting it to the point where we can repeat it over and over and over again. This is everything coming together, get all the cueing sorted out, and really make her fall down the way we want to see it happen every day.
Beautiful. Here we go.
The Metallica loadout, I think, is in a really good spot given all the other constraints that are going on here. We have had to crunch the time frame to really focus the whole organization on Metallica into a 3-week period, essentially. The statue, for example, which has been probably the most challenging element, I think everybody's really happy with where we're at. I mean, we have another basically 24 hours to really tune it and test it before it goes to California. I think everyone's gonna be really proud of it.
We're headed to Fresno first and then to Oakland.
Now, Fresno is rehearsal without the band. Oakland will be rehearsal with the band. Mexico City will be shows.
And then it pops up into Canada and we shoot a movie. Once it's out of the shop, we're on to the next one, basically.
Yo, let's do this. Push it up against the driver's side wall. Support caddies are going to go in the back side of this, and then this truck will be good to go. We're actually currently working between two buildings, so we're getting half loads and most loads out of this portion of Tait and running trucks over to another building where they're currently breaking down everything and getting it ready to get stacked into trucks too. So, you know, it's a little hairy trying to coordinate between multiple buildings, and that's where we're at right now.
This is not a typical rock and roll show because it's twice as big as any of those.
We always ask ourselves, okay, what do we know how to do and how do we take it just one step farther? You try not to go 2 or 3 steps because that's too much of a risk, but just incremental steps. And we've done it. I'm sure it's going to be a huge success. I'm sure our guys have pulled it off. And I think in the end, we're really proud of it. Metallica is just another project, you know. There's not a function in this company that we couldn't have done better, and our job now is to go address it and make sure we don't make the same mistakes again, but we go find new mistakes to make.
Ultimately, it's their show. We're here to help them get it done.
Metallica was always known for an iconic gag in every one of its live performances, and the goal of this show was to recreate every one of those gags, add a few more for embellishment purposes, but design them and build them in such a way that they would pop on a 3D film. When this movie comes out in August of 2013, you will see an entire stage set that fills the ice rink filled with an LED video platform, a massive amount of roll drops spread out throughout the arena, 4 falling towers that are hydraulically driven to the ground at a rapid rate of speed, crosses appearing out of the stage magically, a 30-foot statue that will be erected and knocked down during the show. You will see fire coming out of the stage, electricity coming out of the ceiling, coffins hanging from the ceiling with lights underneath them and video screens on the back of them, and the metal up your ass toilet seat to close the show. If you're a Metallica fan, it's the best show.